Hey, folks, good morning and welcome to another episode of Steelers Morning Rush. I'm Alan Saunders. It is Thursday, March 6th, and the free agency, is just rolling. But we get a question today about the 2025 NFL draft that I just got to get to. Stephen 116th, longtime member of the audience, longtime commenter here on the YouTube platform. It's a $10 super chat, so thank you so much, Stephen. Really appreciate it. Stephen also a subscriber to SN Plus, so if you're not, go check that out over at SteelersNow.com, where you get an ad-free reading experience. He was saying how great it was just yesterday. Stephen wants to know if the Steelers should trade back in the first round of the 2025 NFL draft, and I think that's an interesting option always. I'm actually generally a fairly large proponent of trading back if you can. I think it gets you good value more often than not. But I think really if you're looking at the Steelers right now, it depends on what position they're really primarily focused on. I think the defensive tackle position provides an option for there to be players later in that draft class that could make a lot of sense. There are three really that I think are mid first round players, and that's Kenneth Grant from Michigan, Walter Nolan from Ole Miss, and Derek Harmon from Oregon. I think the chances of more than one of those players being available to the Steelers at 21 is fairly high. So if the Steelers have those guys fairly evenly rated, then yeah, trading down makes a lot of sense because you might still get one. Now, I don't know about trading all the way from 21 to 30, as Steven suggested, because then you're running the risk of, say there's two of those three there at 21, then both going in between. But I think by the time you get to 30, you can add another name to that mix. Someone we haven't talked about a lot here on this YouTube platform yet, Tyleik Williams from Ohio State, I think is just on the border of the first and second round. He actually had some medical things pop up at the combine. Not sure what the resolution with that was, but it resulted in him not speaking to the media at the combine. So we don't know if he met with the Steelers or not. I would assume that he has. I'm also sure that Mike Tomlin and Omar Khan are going to be at the Ohio State Pro Day later this month. So I think he's a real option at the end of the first round or early in the second round. He probably will not be there when the Steelers pick in the second round at 52. So that adds one more name to the mix. I think you can start to look at the math and say, if it's D tackle and you have multiple of these guys here, maybe a trade down isn't a bad idea. Now, wide receiver to me is a bit of a different ballgame. Still three players in that same range: Luther Burden, Matthew Golden, and Meke Buka. But for me, really, I only wanted Meke Buka in the first round of that group. I think Burden is mostly a slot receiver. I think Golden is a huge bust candidate. The production just was not there until the last 4 games of the season. The effort level, very inconsistent, and not that big for an outside receiver. Probably not big enough. And so, yeah, I'm more in on Igbuka than the other two guys. I think Igbuka is a really good pick at 21. I don't think either of the other two would be. Now, maybe if they're both there, you think you can trade back a few spots and still get one of those other guys. I think maybe that's possible, but it's not. To me, it's not as natural of a fit as picking one of the D tackles in a trade back scenario. The other position that we haven't really talked about as much in this year's draft class that I do think makes a really good, compelling argument for trading back is cornerback. Jahdae Barron from Texas, I know the Steelers really like. I feel like they are kind of at the very start of where he could be drafted. But if you throw him in the mix, along with Benjamin Morrison from Notre Dame and Shavon Revel from East Carolina, I think you have 3 players, and maybe even Xavier Watts from Notre Dame, who's like a slot safety, kind of Kyle Hamilton style player. I think like those players will be taken between like 25 and 35. And so I think you're kind of navigating to a bunch of corners late in the first round, early in the second round, if you do want to trade back. But I think probably they're going to have a cornerback in place next Monday, afternoon when the start of free agency opens, and that probably won't be the direction they'll go in the first round. But I guess we'll leave things on the table. The last thing I'll say about a trade back option is, generally speaking, to get good value out of a trade back, there needs to be somebody there that somebody wants very badly to come up and get. So you need someone who people think is going to be drafted above where the Steelers are to fall down to that spot, to fall down to 21, so that someone will come up and get them. Whether that's, Tyler Warren, Ashton Genty. We've talked about Shedeur Sanders. Maybe it's one of the edge rushers, Shamar Stewart or Mike Green. See, the problem is the edge rushers is there's too many of them. But I think there are some options there in terms of guys that could fall down the board that somebody would really want to come up and get. And so yeah, I mean, I think that's possible. And it's definitely something that I think Omar Khan will be a lot more open to doing than Kevin Colbert had been in the past. I think he is in agreement with me that you get good value when you do trade back, but you need the right situation and you need the right team to come up and be willing to pay for what you're offering at that pick. That's all I got for now. I'm sure we're going to talk more about the gigantic free agent news wheel that continues on this Thursday with me and Smitty on Afternoon Drive, just about 6 p.m. here on the YouTube channel and anywhere you get your podcast. Already, we got some Steelers contract news with the restructuring of Cole Holcomb, and I'm expecting more of that today and tomorrow as well in terms of some players being released. So stay tuned. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications here on the YouTube channel so you don't miss a thing. Until next time, thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and enjoy.